The massive alien ship appeared above Earth without warning. It was 10 times larger than anything humans had ever built. The silver vessel hung in the sky like a second moon, visible from every continent. Within hours, every government on Earth received the same message. The Galactic Council requested a meeting. Deho stood in the United Nations building in New York, watching the news broadcasts with growing concern. As Earth's chief ambassador, he had spent 20 years preparing for first contact with alien life. He had studied every scenario, every possible outcome, but nothing had prepared him for this. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Council. They claimed to represent 14 different species from across the galaxy. They had governed space for 12,000 years. Their message was simple and direct. Humanity would submit to their authority, or humanity would be isolated forever. President Minho arrived at the emergency session with his security team. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had led the United Earth Coalition for 8 years through wars, disasters, and finally peace. Now he faced something entirely new. They want to meet in person, Deho told him. They're sending a delegation down tomorrow. Minho nodded slowly. What do we know about them? Very little, Deho admitted. They've shared some basic information. They claim to be peaceful. They say they want to protect us. Protect us from what? Deho looked at the alien ship on the screen. From ourselves, apparently. The next day, the alien delegation arrived. Their shuttle landed in Geneva, where the world's leaders had gathered. Deho was there to greet them. He had expected something frightening, but the aliens were simply different. The lead ambassador was called Velroth. He was tall and thin with blue-gray skin and forearms. His eyes were large and golden. When he spoke, a translator device on his chest converted his words to perfect English. Greetings, humans, Velroth said. His voice was smooth and cold. We welcome you to the galactic community. The meeting took place in a secure conference room. 50 human leaders sat on one side of the table. Velroth and his team of 5 other aliens sat on the other side. Deho translated and facilitated, though the aliens' technology made translation easy. Velroth began without ceremony. Your species has achieved faster-than-light travel. This is a significant milestone. However, it also presents dangers. The galaxy is vast and complex. There are rules that must be followed. President Minho leaned forward. What kind of rules? The Galactic Council maintains order, Velroth explained. We prevent wars. We regulate trade. We ensure that younger species do not harm themselves or others. To join the galactic community, you must accept our guidance. What does that mean specifically? Asked Chancellor Yunji of the European Federation. Velroth activated a holographic display. A document appeared in the air, written in dozens of languages. These are the terms. First, you must surrender all military spacecraft. Second, you must accept Council observers in your government. Third, you must open your planet to Council inspection at any time. Fourth, you must pay an annual tribute to support galactic security. Fifth, you must limit your population and industrial growth according to Council guidelines. The room fell silent. Deho felt his stomach tighten. These weren't terms of partnership. They were terms of surrender. Prime Minister Jamin of the Asian Alliance spoke carefully. And if we refuse? Velroth's expression didn't change. Then you will be quarantined. Your system will be blocked. Any ship that leaves your star will be destroyed. You will never travel beyond your sun. You will be alone forever. You would trap us here? Minho asked. We would protect the galaxy from an unstable species, Velroth corrected. Humans are young and aggressive. Your history is filled with violence. You have nearly destroyed yourselves multiple times. Without our guidance, you will eventually become a threat. Deho wanted to argue, but he knew human history. The wars, the weapons, the millions dead. The aliens weren't wrong about humanity's past. But something about Velroth's tone made his blood boil. The alien spoke like a teacher scolding a child. Like humanity had no choice, how long do we have to decide? Minho asked. 30 days, Velroth said. This is generous. Most species accept immediately. Has any species ever refused? Asked General Jiwan, head of Earth's military forces. She was a short woman with sharp eyes and a reputation for brilliant strategy. Velroth paused. Not in 8,000 years. After the aliens left, the human leaders argued for hours. Some wanted to accept. The council was too powerful to fight. Refusing meant isolation, perhaps extinction. Others refused to even consider surrender. Humanity had just reached the stars. They wouldn't give up their freedom now. Daeho listened to all of them. He understood both sides. But when President Minho asked his opinion, he spoke honestly. They don't want to protect us, Daeho said. They want to control us. Everything in those terms is about limiting what we can do. Our ships, our growth, our choices. They're afraid of us. Afraid? Yoonji looked doubtful. They have ships that dwarf ours. Technology we can't match. Why would they fear us? I don't know, Daeho admitted. But I heard it in Velroth's voice. He's not offering partnership. He's demanding obedience. Minho stood and looked around the room. We need to hear from everyone. Not just this room. Every human on Earth should have a voice in this decision. They held a global vote. It took 28 days to organize and complete. Every adult human was asked the same question. Should Earth accept the Galactic Council's terms? Daeho watched the results come in from his office. The numbers were closer than he expected. Many people wanted peace and safety. Many feared war with an enemy they couldn't defeat. But slowly, steadily, the other side grew. When the final count appeared, Daeho stared at the screen in disbelief. 87% had voted to refuse. President Minho called an emergency meeting. The people have spoken, he said quietly. We reject the council's terms. General Jiwon looked grim. They won't accept that peacefully. I know, Minho said. But we didn't come this far to kneel now. Daeho, you'll deliver our answer. Daeho returned to Geneva to meet Velroth. The alien ambassador listened to Earth's decision without emotion. Then he stood slowly, all four arms spread wide. You are making a grave mistake, Velroth said. We have given you a generous offer. We have shown you respect, and you respond with defiance. We respond with dignity, Daeho replied. We will not trade our freedom for your protection. We will not surrender our future to your control. Tell your council that humanity bows to no one. Velroth's golden eyes narrowed. Then humanity will face the consequences. The council will blockade your system. You will be contained. And when your resources run out, when your people suffer, you will beg us to return. But by then, our terms will be far less generous. The alien delegation left Earth that night. Their massive ship disappeared into the darkness of space. Daeho stood on the roof of the UN building, looking up at the stars. Somewhere up there, the most powerful government in the galaxy was deciding humanity's fate. He thought about his daughter, about the future she would inherit. He wondered if he had just helped save humanity or doom it, but deep down Daeho knew the truth. Humanity had survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. They had climbed from caves to the stars through sheer stubborn will. Whatever came next, they would face it standing tall. The vote had been clear. Humanity would rather die free than live in chains. The Council's response came swiftly. Within a week, their ships surrounded the entire solar system. Hundreds of massive warships took position at every major travel route. Nothing could enter. Nothing could leave. Earth was trapped. Admiral Jiwon stood in the command center of Lunar Base 3, watching the enemy positions on her screens. She had fought in 3 wars before becoming admiral. She had seen terrible things. But she had never felt as helpless as she did now. They have us completely boxed in, said Commander Taeyong, her second in command. He was young for his rank, but brilliant in combat. Every jump point is covered. Every gate is blocked. What about our colonies? Jiwon asked. Mars, the moons of Jupiter, the asteroid stations. All cut off. They have enough supplies for maybe 6 months. After that... Taeyong didn't finish the sentence. Jiwon understood. After that, people would start dying. The Council sent another message. Velroth appeared on every screen across human space. His voice was calm and certain. You have chosen isolation, he said. Now you will live with that choice. We will not attack you. We will simply wait. When you are ready to accept our terms, signal us. Until then, you are alone. President Minho held an emergency cabinet meeting. The situation was dire. Earth itself had enough resources for years, but the outer colonies were vulnerable. And without trade or exploration, humanity's expansion was over before it truly began. We need to break the blockade, General Borum said. He commanded Earth's ground forces, but his strategic mind was valuable in any discussion. We can't just sit here and wait to starve. Break it with what? Asked Minister Yuna, head of research and development. Their ships are twice the size of ours. Their weapons are more advanced. Their shields are impenetrable by our current technology. Then we need better technology. said a quiet voice. Everyone turned to look at Hyun-soo. He was the chief engineer of the Prometheus Project, humanity's most advanced research program. He was young, barely 30, but his mind worked differently than others. He saw solutions where others saw only problems. "What do you have in mind?" Minho asked. Hyun-soo pulled up a holographic display. 3 years ago, a council scout ship crashed on Europa. We recovered the wreckage. I've been studying their technology. Their ships are powerful, yes, but they're designed for a specific type of warfare. Slow, methodical, overwhelming force. And, Ji-won leaned forward. And humans don't fight that way, Hyun-soo said simply. We're fast, unpredictable. We use what we have in ways our enemies don't expect. I can modify our ships, make them faster, harder to track. We can't match their power, but we can be ghosts. Minho looked around the room. How long? Give me 3 weeks, Hyun-soo said. I'll give you a fighting chance. While Hyun-soo worked, another plan began to form. Captain Soman had served in Earth's merchant fleet before the war. She knew smuggling routes that most people didn't. She had contacts in places that governments ignored. Now Admiral Ji-won needed her skills. You want me to steal their ships? Soman asked, laughing. She was small and quick with scarred hands and a crooked smile. Not ships, Ji-won corrected. Supplies. The Council has to resupply their blockade fleet. Those supply ships are less defended. We take a few and suddenly they have problems. Soman's smile grew. You know, I've stolen from corporations, pirates, and governments. But I've never stolen from aliens before. When do we start? 3 weeks later, everything came together at once. Hyun-soo had modified 30 ships with new engines and cloaking technology. They weren't invisible, but they were much harder to detect. Soman had identified 3 Council supply convoys, and Commander Tae-young had trained special strike teams for hit-and-run attacks. Admiral Ji-won stood before her captains. These were the best pilots humanity had. Many would not return. She knew that. They knew that. But everyone volunteered anyway. The Council thinks we're trapped, Ji-won said. They think we'll break. They don't understand that humans are most dangerous when cornered. Tonight we show them what that means. The attacks happened simultaneously. Tae-young's fighters hit the blockade point near Jupiter. They came in fast, fired everything they had and vanished before the Council ships could respond. 2 alien warships took critical damage. At the same time, Soman led her team against a supply convoy near the asteroid belt. They disabled the escort ships with electromagnetic pulses, then boarded the supply vessels. The Council crew surrendered without a fight. They had never been attacked before. They didn't know how to respond. The 3rd strike team hit the blockade near Mars. These were the newest pilots, many barely trained, but they followed Tae-young's tactics perfectly. Strike fast, hit hard, disappear. By morning, the Council had lost 14 ships. More importantly, they had lost their sense of security. The humans had struck from nowhere. They had attacked 3 places at once. They had vanished like smoke. Velroth called an emergency council meeting. The other ambassadors gathered in their chamber. 12 light years from Earth, they were confused and angry. How is this possible? Demanded Ambassador Kren from the Valorian Confederacy. Humans have primitive ships. Basic weapons. They should be contained easily. They are not fighting like we expected, Velroth admitted. He pulled up footage from the attacks. Look at their tactics. They don't try to overpower us. They strike and run. They use speed over strength. They accept losses we would never tolerate. Then we send more ships, said Ambassador Thal. We overwhelm them with numbers. Velroth hesitated. We've already deployed the 5th Enforcement Fleet. If we send more, we'll weaken our positions elsewhere. This is one primitive species, Thal shouted. Are you saying we cannot contain them? Back on Earth, Hyun-soo studied the captured Council supply ships. The technology was impressive but not impossible to understand. He found weaknesses. The shields had gaps. The sensors had blind spots. The weapons were powerful but slow to recharge. They've never had to defend against someone like us, he told Admiral Ji-won. Their entire military is designed to fight other Council members. Organized battles, fleet formations, rules of engagement. We don't have rules, Ji-won said. Exactly, Hyun-soo smiled. We have desperation. That's better. Over the next month, the attacks continued. Earth ships hit the blockade every few days. Each time from a different angle. Each time with new tactics. The Council brought in their 6th Fleet, then their 7th. But the blockade was weakening. Captain Soman became a legend. She raided supply lines so effectively that Council ships started running low on fuel and food. Some even abandoned their positions to resupply. The perfect blockade began to crack. Commander Taeyong pioneered new combat techniques. His pilots would damage a Council ship, then wait for rescue vessels to arrive. Then they'd attack those too. It was vicious and effective. The Council called it dishonorable. Taeyong called it winning. But the victories came with terrible costs. Earth lost ships every week. Pilots who left on missions never returned. Families mourned. The casualty lists grew longer. One night, Admiral Jiwan visited the memorial wall at Lunar Base 3. Names covered the wall. Hundreds of names. People who had died fighting an enemy they couldn't match in a war they didn't start. They knew what they signed up for, Taeyong said quietly, standing beside her. Did they? Jiwan asked. Did any of us know this would happen? Maybe not, Taeyong admitted. But every one of them chose to fight anyway. That means something. Jiwan touched the wall, feeling the carved names under her fingers. It means we can't lose. We can't let these deaths be for nothing. On the 30th day of the blockade, President Minho received a secret message. It came through encrypted channels from deep in Council space. The sender identified himself as Scholar Thexani, an advisor to the Council. The message was simple but shocking. You're winning. The Council is afraid. They've never faced an enemy like you. Keep fighting. Some of us are watching. Some of us are beginning to understand. Minho showed the message to Admiral Jiwan and Ambassador Deho. They read it twice, unsure what to think. Could be a trick, Jiwan said. Could be, Minho agreed. Or it could be the truth. Maybe we're not just fighting for our freedom. Maybe we're showing the galaxy that the Council can be challenged. Deho looked up at the ceiling, thinking of the vast space beyond. If we can make them doubt, if we can make them fear, then we have a chance. Not just to survive, but to win. The blockade continued, but something had changed. The Council's perfect plan was failing. Humanity was supposed to collapse. Instead, they were fighting back with everything they had. And slowly, impossibly, they were succeeding. Scholar Thexani sat in the great library of Centralis, the Council's capital world. Around him floated thousands of data crystals, each containing information about different species. He had been assigned to study humanity. The Council wanted to understand how such a primitive species was causing so much trouble. What he found terrified him. Thexani was a historian by training. He had studied warfare across 100 civilizations. He thought he understood conflict. But human history was different. It was a continuous chain of violence stretching back thousands of years. He pulled up human languages and searched for words related to conflict. The results made his hands shake. Humans had over 10,000 distinct words and phrases for war, combat, and fighting. They had terms for every type of battle, every kind of weapon, every strategy of destruction. The Valorians, considered the most warlike Council species, had 300 such words. Thexani dug deeper. He studied human conflicts, their world wars that killed millions, their civil wars, their religious wars, their wars for resources, territory, ideology, and revenge. In 5,000 years of recorded history, Earth had known only brief moments of peace. He found something else disturbing. Every major human advancement came from military need. Their medicine improved to heal wounded soldiers. Their communication systems developed to coordinate armies. Their space program began with weapons research. Even their internet started as a military project. Humans had evolved in constant competition, first against nature, then against each other. They had turned their entire planet into a training ground for survival. Thexani wrote his report with trembling hands. He sent it directly to the High Council with a warning label. But he didn't know if they would listen. The Council hadn't truly feared anything in 8,000 years. On Earth, Dr. Yuna worked in her laboratory deep beneath Beijing. She had the wreckage of 6 Council ships to study. Hyunsu had modified human ships based on alien technology, but Yuna was looking for something else. She was looking for weaknesses. She found them in the ship designs themselves. Their shields are incredible, she explained to Admiral Jiwan during a video call. Almost impossible to penetrate with direct fire. But look at this. Yuna pulled up a hologram showing a Council warship structure. Their ships are designed to fight other Council vessels. Big, slow, powerful. They expect long-range battles with similar opponents. Their shields are strongest at the front and sides. What about the back? Jiwan asked, still strong but not perfect. More importantly, look at their point defense systems. Yuna highlighted several areas on the ship. They're designed to stop missiles and fighters, but they're programmed to prioritize the biggest threats first. So they've never had to deal with suicide attacks, Yuna said quietly. Their programming doesn't account for a pilot who doesn't plan to pull away. To their systems, a ship on a collision course isn't the biggest threat until it's too late. Jiwan felt sick. You're suggesting we use kamikaze tactics. I'm suggesting we use every advantage we have, Yuna corrected. I don't like it either. But we're fighting for survival. The Council has more ships, better weapons, superior numbers. We need to use tactics they can't predict or defend against. That night, Jiwan called for volunteers. She explained the mission honestly. They would modify small fighters with improved engines and warheads. Pilots would aim for Council capital ships, overload their shields, and cause maximum damage. Survival was unlikely. She expected maybe a handful of volunteers. Instead, 300 pilots stepped forward. One of them was Junho. He was 24 years old, the best pilot in his squadron. He had a wife and a baby daughter he'd never met because she was born during the blockade. Why? Jiwan asked him privately. You have everything to live for. Junho looked at her steadily. That's exactly why. My daughter deserves to grow up free. If I die to give her that chance, then I die happy. The mission launched 3 days later. 20 fighters loaded with explosives escorted by 50 more conventional ships. Commander Taeyong led the escort personally. The target was a Council dreadnought near Saturn. It was the flagship of their 7th Fleet, massive and powerful. Taking it down would be a major victory. The battle was fierce. The Council ships fought hard to protect their flagship. Taeyong's escorts drew fire, creating openings. One by one, the suicide fighters made their runs. The Council point defense destroyed most of them. But not all. Junho's fighter was the 6th to reach the dreadnought. He pushed his engines to maximum, ignoring the damage warnings. His ship screamed through enemy fire. At the last second, he sent a message home. Just 3 words. For our future. His fighter struck the dreadnought's main shield generator. The explosion was visible from Earth, a brief new star in the night sky. The dreadnought survived, but it was crippled. It had to retreat for repairs. When news of the attack reached Centralis, the Council chamber erupted in chaos. Ambassador Velroth stood before his peers, defending his strategy. But other ambassadors were losing patience. 3 months, shouted Ambassador Kren. 3 months we've been blockading one primitive world. They should be starving by now. Instead, they're attacking us. They're using tactics we've never seen, Velroth argued. They sacrifice themselves willingly. They attack without concern for survival. How do we defend against an enemy that doesn't fear death? We destroy them, Ambassador Thal said coldly. Completely. We stop playing games. We blockade them properly. We cut off everything. We starve them, freeze them, make them suffer until they beg for mercy. That would be genocide, Thexani said from his observer seat. As a scholar, he could attend council meetings but not vote. The council has never committed genocide. Then perhaps it's time we did, Thal replied. The vote was called. Should the council escalate to total war? The measure barely failed, 7 votes against, 6 in favor, with 1 abstention. But the fact that it was even close shocked many. The council was changing, hardening, becoming cruel. Back in human space, intelligence officer Nari worked in the shadows. She was a master of electronic warfare, and she had been intercepting council communications for weeks. What she found was valuable beyond measure. She brought her findings to President Minho personally. Sir, the council is fracturing. Their communications show internal disagreements. Some species are questioning the blockade. Others want to intensify it. But they're all afraid. Afraid of us? Minho sounded doubtful. Yes, sir. Nari pulled up intercepted messages. Look at this. It's from a council military commander to his subordinates. He's complaining that human tactics make no sense. That we attack when we should retreat. That we sacrifice everything for minor victories. He says fighting us is like fighting a force of nature. Minho read through several messages. One phrase appeared repeatedly. They don't think like us. They've spent 8,000 years fighting civilized wars, Nari explained. Formal battles. Rules of engagement. Negotiated surrenders. We're not doing any of that. We're doing whatever works. It scares them. Good, Minho said firmly. Let them be scared. Maybe they'll think twice about forcing other species into submission. But the Council wasn't ready to give up. They sent their 8th Fleet to reinforce the blockade. They tightened the noose around human space. They began actively hunting any ship that left the inner system. The pressure on Earth increased. Resources were running lower. The outer colonies were suffering. Mars reported food shortages. The stations around Jupiter were running out of fuel. Earth sent supplies when they could, but the Council interdicted most shipments. People began to wonder if they had made the right choice. Maybe accepting the Council's terms would have been better than this slow starvation. Then Ambassador Deho received an unexpected communication. It came through secret channels heavily encrypted. The sender was Scholar Thexani, the same alien who had sent the previous message. But this time Thexani wasn't just sending encouragement. He was sending data, complete files on Council military strategy, ship designs, fleet movements, and internal communications. It was an intelligence goldmine. Why? Deho asked when they managed to establish a secure connection. Thexani's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired and frightened. Because I've studied your species. I've read your history. I've learned your languages. And I've come to realize something terrible. What? The Council is wrong, Thexani said simply. We claim to bring order and peace, but we bring it through domination. We've crushed hundreds of species over millennia. Most accepted because they had no choice. But some deserved better. Some like you should have been offered true partnership, not servitude. You could be executed for helping us, Deho warned. I know. Thexani smiled sadly. But some things are worth dying for. Your people have taught me that. The information Thexani provided changed everything. Earth's military now knew Council fleet positions, ship capabilities, and strategic plans. Admiral Jiwan could predict their movements. Captain Soman could avoid their patrols. Commander Taeyong could strike at their weakest points. The war was far from over. But humanity had proven something important. They could fight. They could adapt. They could survive. And most importantly, they could inspire doubt in an empire that thought it was invincible. In the Great Library, Thexani deleted his communications logs. The Council chamber on Centralis had never been so tense. Ambassador Velroth stood at the center, facing 13 other ambassadors. Behind him, holographic displays showed the recent battles. The numbers were damning. We've lost 43 ships, Velroth reported. His voice was controlled, but his forearms were tense. Human casualties are estimated at 3 times that number, but they continue fighting. Our blockade is holding, but it's costing more resources every day. This is unacceptable, Ambassador Thal said. He was a large being covered in armored plates. His species, the Korthan, were known for their military might. We should have crushed them in weeks. Ambassador Kren stood slowly. The Valorian representative was elegant, with flowing robes and multiple sensory tendrils. Her voice was measured. Perhaps we should reconsider our approach. The blockade is expensive. The fighting is costly. Have we offered them better terms? Better terms? Thal sounded outraged. They rejected our generous offer. They deserve no mercy. They deserve what any species deserves, Kren replied calmly. Dignity. We offered them servitude. Perhaps if we offer true partnership, they might accept. The chamber erupted in argument. Several ambassadors agreed with Kren. Others sided with Thal. The unity that had defined the Council for millennia was cracking. 3 species abstained from the next vote on military escalation. It was unprecedented. The Council had always acted in unison. Now doubt was spreading. On Earth, General Borum prepared for the next phase of the war. The blockade was weakening but not broken. It was time to take the fight to the enemy. He stood before President Minho with a bold proposal. We attack one of their fortress worlds, Borum said. He was a stocky man with scars from old battles and eyes that saw every weakness. Show them we're not just defending. We can strike back. We don't have the forces for an invasion, Minho countered. We don't need to hold territory, Borum explained. We need to make a statement. We attack, we hit their military installations, we leave. But we prove that nowhere is safe from us. Admiral Jiwan agreed. Their supply depots are the key. If we can capture one intact, we get their technology, their resources, and their confidence takes another hit. The target was chosen carefully. A fortress world called Kepros, 3 light-years from Council territory. It was a supply hub, well defended but not invulnerable. More importantly, intelligence from Thexani showed that Kepros was governed by one of the species wavering in their support of the war. The attack fleet assembled in secret. 50 ships, humanity's largest force yet. Captain Soman led the stealth squadrons. Commander Taeyong commanded the fighters. General Borum himself would lead the ground assault with 5,000 Marines. They jumped to Kepros system under radio silence. The planet's defenders were caught completely off guard. They had never imagined humans could strike so far from their home system. Taeyong's fighters hit the orbital platforms first. Fast and brutal, they crippled the defense grid before the enemy could coordinate a response. Soman's stealth ships infiltrated the station network, spreading chaos in the communication systems. Then Borum's dropships descended. The ground battle was fierce but short. The Kepros garrison had trained for traditional warfare. They expected formation battles and siege tactics. Instead, human Marines hit them from every direction at once. Small teams infiltrated through maintenance tunnels. Others dropped directly onto target buildings. Some used the terrain, fighting from urban cover with guerrilla tactics. The defenders couldn't adapt fast enough. Within 8 hours, Borum's forces controlled the primary supply depot. They loaded everything they could onto transport ships. Weapons, technology, fuel, medical supplies. Most valuable of all were the intact computer systems full of Council data. As they prepared to leave, something unexpected happened. The local garrison commander requested a meeting. His name was Vectos, and he came alone, unarmed. General Borum met him in the captured command center. Vectos was tall and thin with 6 limbs and compound eyes. He looked exhausted. "Why did you ask to meet?" Borum asked. "To ask why you fight so hard," Vectos said quietly. "We offered you protection, safety, a place in the galactic community. Why choose war instead?" "You offered us chains," Borum replied. "Pretty chains maybe, but chains nonetheless. We choose war because we choose freedom." Vectos was silent for a moment. "My people were absorbed into the Council 2,000 years ago. We were told it was an honor. We gave up our independence, our military, our right to govern ourselves. We were told it was for our protection. And now I wonder if we made a mistake," Vectos admitted. "Watching your species fight so fiercely for something we surrendered so easily, it makes me question everything." Borum studied the alien carefully. "What will you tell your superiors?" "The truth," Vectos said. "That humans are formidable. That this war is unwinnable. That the Council should negotiate peace." He paused. "But I doubt they'll listen." The human fleet left Kepros with their captured supplies. They had accomplished their mission. But they had also done something more important. They had made another Council species question their loyalty. Back on Earth, scientist Minjae worked with the captured technology. She was a physicist, brilliant and tireless. The Council's faster-than-light drives were superior to anything humans had developed. But Minjae could understand them. More importantly, she could improve them. "Their technology is advanced but conservative," she explained to Admiral G1. "They've been using the same basic designs for thousands of years. They work so they never innovated. But we can take their principles and push them further." "How much further?" G1 asked. Minjae smiled. "Give me 3 months. I'll give you ships twice as fast as theirs." While Minjae worked, something extraordinary happened. The Council's 8th Fleet, stationed near the outer blockade, stopped responding to commands. At first, Council Command thought it was a communication error. But then the fleet broadcast a message. Commander Krelthon, a member of the Valorian species, appeared on every Council channel. His message was brief and shocking. "I can no longer serve a Council that makes war on those seeking freedom. I hereby resign my commission. Any who wish to join me may do so without consequence from my command. We will not attack human vessels. We will not enforce this unjust blockade." 30 ships from the 8th Fleet joined him, 30 Council vessels refusing to fight. They didn't join humanity's side, but they withdrew from the conflict. It was a devastating blow to Council authority. Ambassador Kren immediately recalled her species' military forces from the blockade. She gave a speech to the Council that was broadcast across the galaxy. "We were told this was a peacekeeping mission," Kren said. "We were told humans were dangerous and needed to be contained. But I have reviewed the evidence. Humans sought only freedom. We sought only control. I can no longer support this war. The Valorian Confederacy withdraws from the blockade, effective immediately. 2 other species quickly followed. The Council's united front was collapsing. On Centralis, riots broke out. Civilian populations, inspired by human resistance, began questioning Council authority. If one species could refuse the Council and survive, why couldn't others? Ambassador Velroth found himself increasingly isolated. He had promised a quick victory. Instead, the war had dragged on for 4 months, cost hundreds of ships, and fractured the Council itself. He called an emergency session with only his closest allies. "We're losing more than a war," he told them. "We're losing the loyalty of our own people. If we don't end this soon, the entire Council structure could collapse." "Then we use overwhelming force," Thal insisted. "No more half measures. We commit everything. We destroy Earth completely. We make an example that will terrify the galaxy into submission for another 8,000 years. But even Thal's supporters were hesitant. The cost would be enormous. The damage to the Council's reputation might be irreparable, and there was no guarantee it would work. Scholar Thexani was discovered 3 days later. Council security had finally traced the intelligence leaks back to him. They arrested him quietly, hoping to avoid a scandal. But news of his arrest leaked anyway. Across Council space, intellectuals and scholars protested. Thexani was a respected historian. His arrest for helping humans sparked debates on every Council world. Was the Council right to force compliance? Was freedom really dangerous? Had they become tyrants instead of protectors? Ambassador Deho received one final message from Thexani before the scholar was imprisoned. It was short and cryptic. "The truth cannot be imprisoned. You've started something that cannot be stopped. Win or lose, the galaxy will never be the same." President Minho addressed Earth and the colonies in a broadcast. He looked tired but determined. "The Council is fracturing," he said. "Our resistance has inspired doubt in an empire that believed itself invincible. We didn't start this war, but we're going to end it. Not through surrender, but through victory. A victory not just for humanity, but for every species that deserves freedom." Admiral Jiwan prepared for the next offensive. With Minje's improved drives and captured Council supplies, Earth's fleet was stronger than ever. Captain Soman's raiders were causing havoc across Council supply lines. Commander Taeyong's fighters had become legendary for their daring attacks. The war wasn't over, but the momentum had shifted. The emergency meeting of the Council's high command was chaotic. Ambassador Velroth had never seen his fellow ambassadors so divided and desperate. The war was 6 months old, and the Council was losing. 3 more species have withdrawn their forces, reported Military Coordinator Drax. The blockade is now maintained by only 7 member species. Human ships are breaking through regularly. Their colonies are being resupplied. We've effectively lost containment. How is this possible? Thal demanded, slamming his armored fist on the table. They're primitives. One small world against the entire galaxy. They're not primitives anymore, Velroth said quietly. They've captured our technology. Their scientists have improved it. Their ships are now faster than ours. Their tactics remain unpredictable. And worst of all, they've inspired half the galaxy to question our authority. Ambassador Kryn, though her species had withdrawn from the war, still attended as an observer. "I warned you," she said softly. "Force creates resistance. You cannot bomb a species into loyalty. Then what do you suggest?" Velroth snapped. "Peace," Kryn replied simply. "Negotiate. Offer them true equality. End this war before it destroys the Council entirely." Thal laughed bitterly. "Negotiate? After everything? They would demand our surrender." "Then perhaps," Kryn said, "we should surrender." The chamber erupted. Shouts, arguments, accusations. The Council that had ruled for 12,000 years was tearing itself apart. In the chaos, nobody noticed when Drax activated a hidden console. He sent a single command to a secret facility deep in Council space. It was their ultimate weapon, built millennia ago but never used. The weapon that could destroy entire star systems, the Star Hammer. On Earth, Intelligence Officer Nari detected unusual energy signatures coming from deep Council territory. She had become adept at reading Council communications and scanning their space. But this signature was different. Enormous power building up in one location. She traced it to coordinates in the Andromeda sector. A hidden station, ancient and massive. Then she found the classified files in captured Council databases. Her blood ran cold. It's a planet killer, she told President Minho urgently. The Council built it 8,000 years ago during their last major war. It uses focused gravity waves to tear apart stellar bodies. One shot could destroy Earth and everything in the solar system. How long until it's ready to fire? Minho asked. Based on the power readings, 72 hours, Nari said. Maybe less. Minho immediately called an emergency cabinet meeting. Admiral Jiwan, General Borum, Ambassador Deho, and the military commanders gathered within an hour. We have 3 days to either destroy that weapon or evacuate Earth, Minho said. And we can't evacuate 8 billion people in 3 days. Then we destroy it, Admiral Jiwan said firmly. We take every ship we have. We hit Centralis and the Starhammer simultaneously. We end this war now, one way or another. That's suicide, someone protested. Centralis is the most defended world in the galaxy. Then we die fighting, General Borum said. Better than waiting for them to vaporize our planet. The plan came together quickly. Earth's entire fleet would split into 2 forces. Admiral Jiwan would lead the main attack on Centralis, the Council's capital world. Captain Soman would lead a smaller strike team to infiltrate and destroy the Starhammer station. Every available ship was prepared. Every pilot, every soldier, every crew member volunteered. This was humanity's last stand. If they failed, Earth would be destroyed. If they succeeded, they might just win the war. President Minho gave a final address to Earth. His speech was broadcast across the planet and to every human colony. 6 months ago, we chose freedom over safety, he said. We chose to stand rather than kneel. That choice has cost us dearly. Thousands have died. Millions more have suffered. But we've also proven something important. We've proven that no empire, no matter how old or powerful, can crush the human spirit. Today we fight our final battle. Win or lose, we fight it standing tall. The fleet launched. 143 ships, everything humanity could muster. They jumped to Centralis system in the largest human military operation in history. The Council was waiting. Their remaining loyal fleet surrounded the capital. Hundreds of ships, massive and powerful, but they were arranged in traditional defensive formations. Predictable, organized, human forces were neither. Commander Taeyong led the fighter wings in first. They swarmed through the defensive lines like angry hornets, too fast and numerous for the Council ships to track. Behind them came the main fleet, not in formation but in chaotic clusters that split and reformed unpredictably. Admiral Jiwan commanded from her flagship, the Indomitable. All ships random attack pattern 7. Do not maintain formation. Do not follow predictable courses. Be chaos itself, the battle was madness. Human ships darted between Council vessels, striking from unexpected angles. When the Council adjusted their defenses, the humans simply changed tactics. There was no pattern to predict, no strategy to counter. General Borum's marine assault ships pushed through the chaos. Their target was Centralis itself, specifically the Council's command center. If they could capture or destroy it, the war would be over. Meanwhile, Captain Soman's strike team approached the Starhammer station. It was enormous, ancient, and heavily shielded. Direct assault was impossible. So Somin did what she did best. She improvised. We're going in as a diplomatic vessel, she told her team. I've got captured Council codes. We'll dock, then fight our way to the core. It almost worked. They got through the outer defenses using the stolen codes. They docked without incident, but when they opened the airlock, security was waiting. The firefight was brutal. Soman's team of 40 Marines fought through corridors designed for beings 3 times their size. They used speed and ferocity to overcome superior numbers. Humans fell, but they pushed forward. Engineer Hyunsu was with Soman's team. He had designed the sabotage plan. If they could reach the Starhammer's power core, he could overload it. The station would tear itself apart from within. At Centralis, the battle raged. The Council's fleet was larger, but human tactics were overwhelming them. Ships that should have been destroyed kept fighting, too damaged to survive but refusing to quit. Pilots who should have retreated instead pressed attacks, trading their lives for critical hits. General Borum's dropships broke through the orbital defenses. They descended on Centralis through a storm of anti-aircraft fire. 30 ships launched. 12 reached the surface. It was enough. Borum led his Marines through the streets of Centralis. The capital was a beautiful city, thousands of years old, built by a dozen species. Now it became a battlefield. Council security forces tried to stop them, but they had never fought humans before. They had never faced an enemy that simply refused to stop, no matter the odds. The humans fought building by building, street by street, pushing toward the council chamber. On the Starhammer station, Hyunsu reached the power core. It was beyond ancient. Technology from an era when the council was young and violent, but it was still dangerous. The weapon was charging, ready to fire in less than an hour. I can overload it, Hyunsu said, his hands flying over alien controls, but the resulting explosion will destroy the station and everything within 1,000 kilometers. Soman looked at her remaining team. 15 Marines left from 40, all wounded, all exhausted. All knowing what came next. Do it, she said. We'll hold this position. Make sure it works. You won't have time to evacuate, Hyunsu warned. We know, Soman smiled. Just make sure Earth survives. That's all that matters. Hyunsu initiated the overload sequence. Alarms shrieked throughout the station. Council personnel began evacuating. But Soman's team held the corridor leading to the core, ensuring nobody could stop the sabotage. At the council chamber, General Borum kicked down the massive doors. Inside, the remaining ambassadors were in chaos. Some were fleeing. Others were arguing. Ambassador Velroth stood at the center looking defeated. It's over, Borum told him. Surrender now or we fight to the last breath. Either way, you've lost. Velroth looked at the human general, shorter than most council species, covered in armor and blood but standing like he owned the galaxy. Behind him, more Marines poured in. Outside, the sounds of continued fighting echoed through the city. How? Velroth asked quietly. How did you beat us? Because you forgot something important, Borum replied. Order is comfortable. Chaos is dangerous. But chaos is also natural. You spent 12,000 years trying to eliminate chaos from the galaxy. We embraced it. We weaponized it. We became it. Ambassador Thal tried one last desperate move. He drew a weapon and aimed at Borum. 3 human Marines fired simultaneously. Thal fell. The remaining ambassadors raised their hands in surrender. President Minho arrived on Centralis 2 hours later. He came in a simple transport, escorted by only a dozen ships. He walked through the shattered streets of the capital city, past damaged buildings and exhausted soldiers. He entered the council chamber to find Ambassador Velroth still there, surrounded by human Marines. The alien looked old and tired. You've won, Velroth said. What happens now? Do you destroy us? Take revenge? Minho sat down across from him. No, we're not here for conquest or revenge. We're here for what we always wanted. Freedom, equality, respect. Those were always available.